if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't use the words 5D consciousness in my life pretty much at all. Like, I just don't use those words. Not that I have anything against those words at all, but the thing that I always like to say is that 5D consciousness is just words. It's just concepts. It's just labels. And there's literally an infinite amount of words that I could use to express this shift in consciousness that's happening in the world right now. Yes, there's a shift in consciousness happening. It really is happening. People are waking up to who they are. They're becoming more conscious. They're becoming more aware. And to say that it's a 5D consciousness shift that's happening is just one label we can use to describe this shift in consciousness that's happening. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be sharing with you in this video the 5D consciousness shift, what it really is, what it's really pointing to beyond, what we think and our thoughts about it, but just like the actual experience that it's pointing to, and also how to know you're shifting to the fifth dimension, or at least what people are calling the fifth dimension and the 5D state of consciousness. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for free consultation. So the first way to know that you're shifting to the 5D state of consciousness, or the fifth dimension, or what some people are calling the fifth dimension, is you are becoming extremely sensitive. Just really, really sensitive. Just really sensitive to your own emotions, to other people's emotions. You can walk into a room and feel people's vibe. You can feel people's emotions pretty strongly. It's very subtle, but also you're so conscious that it's not subtle anymore. It's just a very strong feeling of sensitivity. Now, some people can experience this and they've never even heard what the fifth dimension is about. They don't know what that even means. So that's why I say 5D consciousness is just a label, because so many people could be going through this feeling of like sensitivity, but they've never even heard what the 5D consciousness shift is really about. And so you might be going through this extreme sensitivity, but maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of anything that has anything to do with a 5D state of consciousness, yet you're going through this shift. Some people go through a spiritual awakening. They don't even know what that is, but they're still going through it. And so it's important to realize that we can call it whatever it is, but you're super sensitive. We can call it whatever we want, but you're super sensitive, extreme levels of sensitivity, extreme levels of consciousness, and you're more connected to your feelings than you've ever been connected to in your life. You've never even been connected to your feelings that deeply. That's how sensitive it is. You've never felt into other people's emotions so deeply. That's how sensitive it might be for you. And I've been there. I'm still there. I'm still going through this shift just like you. And the first sign, a very clear and simple but powerful sign that you're shifting to what some people are calling the fifth dimension, is just an extreme level of connection and sensitivity to the present moment. Your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, everything, every part of reality, you're more sensitive. If you really think about it, what is sensitivity? Sensitivity is a high level of consciousness. That's all it is. Sensitivity is a high level of consciousness. If you're super sensitive in this life, that's because you're a highly conscious being. That doesn't necessarily make you better than other people at all, doesn't make you better or worse, but it is a fact. You're more sensitive, your consciousness is higher. Now, the second sign you're shifting to what some people are calling the fifth dimension is you're becoming totally fearless. You're becoming totally fearless. You're not afraid to express certain parts of yourself. Maybe there are some parts of yourself that you're afraid to express. That's normal. You're still a human being, but you're becoming more fearless. You're becoming more fearless. You're taking, like, yes, there's still going to be some fears left. We're all human beings. We have certain fears. We have certain things that we're scared of, But as you begin to ascend to a higher state of consciousness, slowly but surely, you're going to have less fears. You're going to be not run by fear as much. You're going to have a deeper connection to the present moment, to such high levels that you're just not thinking anymore. And guess where fear comes from? Thinking. Okay? All fear comes from thinking. All fear comes from thoughts. And so when you begin to shift to the 5D, where you begin to think less, you begin to feel more, you begin to have that deeper connection to the present moment, you're going to be more fearless. Now, what does this mean for your life? This means that you may do things you were always scared to do. You might let go of that career path, let go of that relationship. You were so scared for so long. What would happen with your life? How people would perceive you. Fear, fear, fear. You can't take it anymore. Fearless, bold action. Okay, that's part of the 5D shift. It's living a life that's truly aligned with your values, what feels good to you. In 5D, it's impossible for you to actually do a career path, to be doing something you hate. It's almost impossible because you have so much self-love, you have so much consciousness, you have so much sensitivity, you're so connected to who you are. You won't be able to do things that are based on fear anymore. It just won't happen. You won't see somebody in 5D doing a job that they hate. It just won't happen. You won't see somebody in 5D not saying no to somebody. They're gonna, like, if they feel something's not right for them, fearlessly and unapologetically, they will say no. That's 5D. It's like, nope, I'm not doing this. And it might seem egotistical, it might seem selfish to people that are in the 3D state of consciousness, more ego, more dense. They're going to project those fears onto that person and say, oh, he's being selfish. No, he or she is just living their life fearlessly, and they're following your heart, and the ego loves to flip it back on the person following their heart, make them seem like the selfish ones, when really, I hate to say it, I don't want to be rude, it's the opposite. They're the ones that are being selfish. And that can sound selfish when I say it like that, but when you follow your heart, when you become selfless, the people that are selfish and in fear will project their fears onto you and make you seem like the one that's living in fear, make you seem like the one that's has stories in their mind, when really you're the one that's following your heart fearlessly, and the other people have fear. And that's not to judge people, that's not to have resentment towards people, it's just to see that you may live fearlessly. And the reason I even brought that up in the first place is because in that process of following your fears, not your fears, please don't follow your fears, and the process of following your heart, and you can face your fears but don't follow them. In the process of following your heart, people are going to criticize that to some degree. Some people may actually make it seem like it's not a good idea to follow that thing that feels right to you. It might seem like it's not a good idea to certain people. Certain people might project their ideas around why it's not a good idea to follow that thing. And so just keep that in mind. Just keep in mind that when you're shifting to what some people are calling a 5D state of consciousness, when you're becoming more fearless, when you're becoming more bold, certain people may actually project their fears onto you and make you seem like you're being illogical when you're just following your heart. Now, the third thing I want to share with you that is a clear sign, it's a huge sign that you're shifting to what some people call this 5D state of consciousness, is you start to see that your own mind is what actually creates resistance. Okay? That's what you'll start to see, is that a lot of the resistance that you feel in your life comes from your own mind. Your own mind is creating that resistance. So if you feel a lot of resistance in your life, you start to see that it's just the mind doing that. That's all it is. It's just the mind creating a resistance. Resistance comes from our thoughts. Now, you may have an emotion that didn't come from thoughts, maybe just some past traumas, but what keeps that emotion alive is our own minds. If you're seeing that challenges are not necessarily something that's not going to happen in life, if you're starting to see that challenges are inevitable, adversity is inevitable, things going wrong is inevitable, but to resist those things is not necessary anymore, that's when you're shifting to what some people call a 5D state of consciousness. You're realizing that the resistance is just not needed. It's not needed anymore. You don't have to resist anymore. The only thing keeping us in resistance is our thoughts. And I know that's hard to accept when there's extremely negative, so to speak, negative things happening in life, negative, because there really is no such thing as good or bad in 5D either, it just is. Even the challenging things that the mind likes to label as bad, even if it's a health issue. I know it's hard to accept that the mind creates resistance when something goes wrong with your finances. You know, and this is where I want to get real in this video. I got to get real with you. Or maybe something goes wrong with your health, or something goes wrong with family. It's like, okay, Francis, sure, you know, the mind creates resistance, but what about this situation? Not only does your mind create resistance in the small things, and not only in the big things either, but especially in those big things. Those big challenges may be the catalyst to help you actually realize that your mind was creating the resistance all along. That's normally when people shift to 5D, some unfortunate event happens in their life that makes them realize, oh my gosh, I am creating this suffering for myself. It's me. It's not the situation. It's not the person. Although it could seem like it, it's me. It's my own thoughts. It's my own resistance. If you're realizing that your own thoughts and your own resistance is what is creating the suffering in your life, you're shifting to what some people call the 5D. Now, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be 5D, but your consciousness is getting to a point where you're becoming conscious that you are actually creating your own pain. That's a huge insight to have. And I've had moments in my life where I actually realized that it wasn't my health. It wasn't the situation. It seemed like it can seem like it's easy to fall into victim. The ego loves that. And I can even flip this back on myself, where I realized in my life, by the way, not ironically, only in the strong challenges that my mind created the resistance. And if you're realizing that too, you're realizing that not only most of the time in challenges that we experience those realizations, but it's almost always in those challenges we experience those states of being of peace and and we have a realization that our mind was creating the resistance all along. Now the fourth, if that's happening to you, you're shifting to the 5D. Now the fourth sign that you're shifting to what some people are calling the 5D shift, or the 5D state of consciousness, or the fifth dimension, is a feeling of oneness, a feeling of connection, where you actually see and become conscious of the fact that you are not separate from anything or anyone. And this is not something you conceptualize, but you can act like you might start, and I share this in some of my older 5D consciousness videos, but it's so profound that I had to share it again. You literally become one with life, and you can see it. Like, it's interesting to talk about oneness. It's interesting to, have these ideas about oneness, but then when you actually go through an awakening of oneness where you can see that you are one, that's when it becomes extremely profound. Now, I just want to share with you, if you're going through this shift in consciousness, you might have already had moments where you're so focused on somebody, maybe looking at them in their eyes, maybe even watching this video right now. Maybe you're totally present with the conversation. Maybe you're watching a YouTube video in presence, and then you just see that you're one. You see it. You don't think about it, you become conscious of it. You become so sensitive to the moment. It's like you can, it's not like you think about, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm one. No, it's not a thought. It's a direct, conscious realization of the fact that you are one with that person, or you're one with that activity, or you're one with life. You're not separate from life. I'm not separate from this camera. I'm conscious of that. You're not separate from this video. You are one with life. If you're beginning to see and feel, and at every single level of your experience, see and are conscious of the fact that you are one, that's a huge sign that you're shifting to 5D consciousness. Now, I just want to say to you, you might be having little glimpses of this and you might doubt yourself. I remember when I started to experience this, I actually doubted myself, and I was in that state for a little bit, which, by the way, that's the fearless state I'm talking about. When you're in that state of oneness, that's the most qualitative description that I can give of the 5D state of consciousness. If I'm going to use 5D consciousness as a word in this video, that's the most qualitative thing I can describe to you as that state. You're not disconnected from life. You're totally fearless. You're one. You're one with life. You're in the flow state. You're connected to that feeling of oneness. You're conscious of everything. Everything happening in your experience, at least, which is technically everything that exists is your subjective experience. Now, that's a bold statement. We'll get to that in another video. What I really mean is your subjective experience is what creates life, which is something you become conscious of. If you're realizing that you are one with life and you're conscious of everything in your experience and how it's all connected and how you're conscious of all of that, you are shifting to the 5D. Now, I just want to say to you one thing before I get to the fifth and final point. Do not doubt yourself. Once again, if you're experiencing that oneness, you're thinking, oh man, you might be doubting yourself. You might fall into that state, and then because you're totally fearless, right? And then you might actually leave that state because you start to think and you start to get scared of that state. When, of course, when you're in that state, you're not thinking at all, but then you start to think about how weird it is, and then you go out of the state because that's your mind thinking. So let yourself go deeper into that oneness. That's your power. It's not your power because it's the universe's power, but it's your choice to step into that power and the universal energies of oneness. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you're watching this video this far, it's definitely not ridiculous to you, or you're just watching this video of curiosity. Definitely be open if you haven't experienced it to the fact that you are one. And if you're watching this video this far, you probably have. If you haven't, that's okay too. Be open to the idea that you are not separate. And I want to be clear, because when I say be open to the idea, right now it has to be an idea, but when it happens, it won't be an idea. Okay, and if you're becoming one, you are shifting to 5D, or what some people call 5D. So the fifth and final sign that you are shifting to what some people are calling the 5D state of consciousness is you realize you are a free being. And this one is amazing, because I love this one, because you realize you don't have to do anything for anybody. Of course, the only thing you have to do in life is survival based. That's survival based. That's you need to eat food or you will die. That's something you have to. I don't mean to be bold, by the way, but that's a need, right? That's a survival based need. Yeah, if you want to live as a human being, yes, you have to eat food, you have to eat water. But past survival, you don't have to do anything. You are a free being to do anything. You're a free being that can do anything. You can live the life you want. You don't have to be in that job. You don't have to be in that relationship. It can seem like it because maybe your survival's at stake, but at the end of all of that, you don't have to be in that relationship. You don't have to do something that somebody else thinks that is good for you. If somebody has an idea of the life you should live, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go to school because your parents wanted it for you. You don't have to do something because society wants it for you. It's something that you are choosing to do. That is part of 5D, is realizing that we have a choice to live the life that we truly want, that feels right in our heart. And I love this. I love talking about this on my channel, because one of the biggest insights that I had in my life is that I don't have to do anything for anybody. I give my love to human beings because I want to. Because I want to spread that love. If it's out of obligation, that's not true love. True love is unconditional. It's not obligated on there's no obligation to give love. You give love because you are love. You are love that spreads love into the world. And sometimes love, you being love, can mean letting go of an individual. The most loving thing you can do for the whole universe is to break up with that person, maybe, if that's what's happening in your life. Maybe it's to drop that career. Maybe it's to move out of your house if you're living with family. Yeah, family may get a little bit reactive to that. Maybe that's the thing you need to do to be in the highest alignment of your soul. To be in the highest alignment of your soul. To be in perfect alignment with who you truly are. That is the most loving thing you can do. You are a free being. If you realize that you have the power to do what you love, you are a free being that can do whatever you want at any single moment, you are shifting to 5D, or at least what some people are calling 5D, which is a human label that we have constructed once again. So that's all I have for this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Leave a comment down below if you've experienced any of these signs and what your experience has been in shifting to what some people call 5D. If any of these signs resonated with you, hit that like button. As always, have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.